Do you find yourself going through periods of being in abundance and then all of a sudden something kind of knocks you off track where you're like, ugh, I feel stuck. I feel like I'm in scarcity and I don't even know how to find my way back to where I felt before. Well, that's because we shift and we change. We can do all this abundance work at one point in our life, but if we don't continue to do the work or stay supported, then that happens. So, good news, I'm giving you an exercise to do on this podcast all about how to live an abundant life. So stay tuned and get ready to do this exercise with me. Welcome to Spiritual and Ambitious. I'm your host, Whitney McNeill. I'm a certified medium and spiritual teacher, and I help spiritual and ambitious souls just like you live your life purpose through your career and attract abundance by connecting into your intuition and spirit guides. Let's get spiritual and ambitious. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Spiritual and Ambitious podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I love seeing how this podcast has grown over the last 1.5 years. And just because of you, we are doing really well in growing this podcast. And I just want to say thank you so very much. So in the spirit of abundance, I want to make sure that you know I really appreciate you. And if you haven't reviewed the podcast, I would love for you to, so I can give you a shout out and say thank you personally right here. So before we jump into this exercise, I want to pull some cards. And the first one is very apparent. It's the chemist craving something new. Adjustments are happening. Yeah, right. We're wanting to create something new. We are manifesting. We want to be in that abundant place. And speaking of abundance, we have Intuition Abundance Academy opening soon. And I'm actually doing a free class about life purpose and abundance that's coming really soon. So stay tuned for next week's episode on all the details of how to register, and make sure you're on my email list because you will be the first to know as well. And you want to check the show notes because we've got some great resources for you with abundance and life purpose. Now, the next card I have is the Joy Guide, something I talk about all the time with my students. You manifest when you're in joy. And so the message here is lighten up, manifest through joy. Just like I said, when we're in that spirit of abundance, in that place of abundance, our energy is in a place to receive more opportunities, which is what our spirit guides are helping us with. All right, without further ado, let's talk about living an abundant life. So, what is an abundant life? Well, it really depends on what abundance is to you. And if you've listened to my previous podcast episodes a few weeks back, all about abundance, then you'll know a little bit more about what it means to you. I'll link to that in the show notes as well. So abundance is opening, it's welcoming, we're inviting, and we're not limiting. A lot of times I do see spiritual people say, well, I want just enough to pay my bills. I'm like, nope, that's not what abundance is about. So listen to that other episode if that is something that you feel stuck on. But today it's really about an abundant life for you. So I'm actually going to walk you through an exercise to help you with this. So the first thing I want you to do is to really close your eyes, get comfortable. So make sure you're not doing this on the way to work or running errands in a car, right? You want to make sure that you're relaxed and you are in a safe place to be able to do this. But if you close your eyes and I ask you to picture, what does an abundant life look like to you? What is it? So I'm just going to ask you the question. What does an abundant life look like to you? And I'm going to tell you, picture, intend to see, feel, hear, or know your abundant life. And as you are seeing, feeling, hearing, knowing what's going on in this beautiful, abundant life of yours, are you traveling? Are you surrounded by family? Are you by yourself? Where do you live? Take a moment, just soak all of that in. Perhaps you're in a different country, a different state. And now I'm going to ask you to picture your house. What does it look like? Who's living with you or not living with you? Do you have children? Do you have pets? What are you doing for work? How does working feel? What are you doing to live your life purpose? What does your life purpose look like, feel like, is like? Maybe you're not working at all. Perhaps you're resting. Perhaps you're making a huge impact with others through your career. And how do you feel in this abundant life? What emotion comes up for you when I ask you that question? Finally, when you think of this life, what color comes to mind? The first color that pops into your mind, whether you see it, hear it, feel it, or know it. What elements of this abundant life stand out to you? You have your feelings and the color. Are there any other elements as you look around in this vision or feel or hear and you're in this vision? Perhaps something stands out to you. All right. I want you to come back, taking a deep breath, feeling back into your body, opening your eyes. And in just a minute, we're going to talk about the meanings of some of these things you've discovered in this vision. As a professional psychic medium, I've done tens of thousands of readings, but I felt a call to move more fully into teaching intuition. But I still get so many requests about doing readings. So while I don't do readings anymore, I have brought in some very trusted colleagues who are now available for live 1 hour readings on Zoom. If you would like to book your psychic medium reading, go to messengerofspirit.com/appointments to see our available readers and schedule your Zoom reading today. All right, so I walked you through an exercise of your abundant life, and it's okay if you are thinking, I didn't really see anything, because we're not all people who see. When I teach about the 4 intuitive languages and you see nothing, that's fine. That just means you have one of the other intuitive languages. Perhaps you heard, perhaps you felt, perhaps you just knew. So if you need to repeat this exercise, you can pause me, you can rewind me to listen again from the beginning of this episode. But I want you to just be in this moment. Sometimes we have blocks that prevent us from even getting there because we're afraid to even picture what an abundant life might be. And these blocks could be fear that's never going to happen, or it could be that you feel like you're unworthy in some sort of way, or that it's just not possible for you, or that you're leaving other people behind. The blocks go on and on. So be gentle with yourself if you feel like you didn't get anything. And sometimes we don't get anything because we're expecting to see it or to hear it or to feel it. And we think we've done something wrong because we didn't. Please know that that means you're experiencing this exercise in a different way, in a different intuitive language. So repeat it again and just be open and release the expectation. You may know it, you may feel it, you may hear it instead of seeing it. And sometimes what happens with this exercise, people forget whatever I said. And they're like, I don't know what happened. I just left and I don't really remember if there's anything that you told me here. That's okay. Just go back and listen to it again. Okay, so once you have your answers, let's talk about the colors. The first thing that I want to talk about is if you got the color red, The intention with this exercise means that what you're taking from this visualization and what is really resonating with you for your abundant life is stability and security. If you saw orange, creativity and connection. If you saw yellow, independence and confidence. If you saw green or pink, support and receiving. If you saw blue, freedom, authenticity, and expression. If you saw an indigo color, spiritual gifts and spiritual connectedness. If you saw purple, white, or gold, higher self, living in embodiment in purity and simplicity. So the colors have intended meanings, but I always want you to connect with your intuition to feel into, I saw this color, I heard this color, I felt it, or I knew what it was. And you ask yourself, you ask your higher self, you can ask your spirit guides, what does this color mean? This is an element of what that vision means. This is an element that is going to be so imperative for you in an abundant life. So you have a core meaning here. So write it down. The next thing I want you to do is write down any of the other elements that stood out to you. And also write down where you lived, what you were doing. You're having a very tangible experience and a picture of what an abundant life looks like to you. But now I want you to see your abundant life as a symbol. The color you saw is a symbol. Maybe you're traveling. Well, that is a symbol of freedom. That is a symbol of independence. Maybe you saw yourself around family. That is a symbol of stability and connectedness. So I want you to see this as a symbol versus the reality of what it is. But I also want you to write down the emotion that you felt with this as well. What emotions came up for you as you're living your most abundant life? And write those down as well. So again, you're writing down the emotions, you're writing down the elements, anything that stood out to you. If you're writing down the meaning of the color. And I want you to pause me and just take a moment and see what else stands out for you. So for me, as I do this exercise, I'm going to be traveling the world. And when I ask myself about what am I doing for work, I am helping people in an abundant way whenever I feel inspired. And I'm seeing all these options, books, podcasts, other things that come up. And the ultimate theme here is I'm doing what I feel inspired to do instead of being locked into something, which then I'm going to see as a symbol of freedom, of choice. So for me, the color that comes up is blue, freedom, authenticity, and expression. That's an example of what I want you to do. See what comes up and really feel those feelings. Now that you have all these ingredients together, I'm going to ask you a question. What small step can you take right now to feel more of those emotions or to be in more alignment with what your color represented? So for me, my color is blue. So I'm going to say, well, what step can I take right now to feel more free, authentic, and to make sure I'm expressing myself? My answer, kind of simple, is travel. But that's not everybody's answer. Another answer, a small step I can take right now, free myself of appointments as much as possible. Today, I have no appointments and I am working whenever I freaking want to. And it's amazing. When we have appointments in my schedule, I feel very limited. So I love days where I am just doing what I want to do. So today, I got up, I wrote an email. I did my social media post, and then I went outside and I swam. I sat in the sun. I made my smoothie. I laid around. I listened to an audiobook, and now I'm recording a podcast. So I love those days, and that is a small step I can take for feeling free. This is what abundance means to me. There are other elements of freedom as well, such as money, such as spiritual freedom, energetic freedom. This is just my example so that you can apply it to what color you got. If you got stability and security, what small step can you take to feel more stable, to feel more secure right now? And of course, if I were to work with you, I would be going even deeper. Like, what does stability even mean to you? And is this a concept that is true to you, or is this something you learned? So, with that in mind, I'm going to remind you every day we can choose to live in an abundant mindset or a scarcity mindset. So every day we can choose to say, I am abundant. I am free. That's my affirmation. You could say, I am secure. Maybe your affirmations, I am confident. This is something we get to choose, or we get to say, oh, it's never going to happen. So it's important to stay in an abundant mindset. Start your day with this vision and feel the emotions and surround yourself with a color. That is going to be an exercise I want you to do every day. So when you wake up tomorrow, I want you to start your day off with the vision of you living your abundant life. But the most important thing I want you to do is to feel the emotions. Let it permeate into your soul. Surround yourself with a color of abundance that came to you, and allow yourself to go through your day with that energy around you. And the more that you do this, you're going to start seeing yourself make decisions out of abundance rather than the scarcity. And then I want you to intend that your life, this future version of you, is you now. So you are literally surrounding yourself with this color. You're permeating yourself with these emotions. And I want you to intend that you get to choose to live your life like this right now, and live your life in this energy of abundance and feeling. And the more you live your life this way, the more your energy starts to shift and create opportunities in alignment with this. All right. So check the show notes for some great resources. Join the waiting list for Intuition Abundance Academy, and mark your calendars for October 3rd. We've got a free class coming up all about helping you live your purpose in abundance. All right, I will be back next week with a brand new episode, and check out our mini episodes happening this month on Sundays, all about the energy that's coming for the week. Until next time, here's to staying spiritual and ambitious. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And if you loved it, would you please share it with a friend? I would also love your review and a reminder to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find me at messengerofspirit.com. And you can take the 4 Intuitive Languages quiz and find show notes there too. If you want to connect on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find me at Messenger of Spirit. I'll meet you right here next week. Here's to staying spiritual and ambitious.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.